We begin the news in West Africa, where President Bola Tinubu has declared that individuals involved in crimes such as kidnapping must be treated as terrorists. The president made the declaration on Tuesday at the Ramadan dinner with members of the federal judiciary led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola. Reiterating the government's resolve to defeat banditry, the president said those who resort to kidnapping children are cowards, incapable of confronting the might of the Nigerian army. Nigeria is facing increasing security challenges, majorly terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and oil theft. The northwest and northeast geopolitical zones have recorded the highest number of insurgents and bandits attacks in the last decade, with terror gangs sprawled across forests and zones, killing and kidnapping thousands of residents. The burial ceremony of 17 army personnel killed in Okwama community, Delta State, southern Nigeria, has been scheduled for Wednesday. Army spokesperson Major General Nyema Nwachukwu announced this in a statement on Tuesday. He said President Bola Tinubu would be the special guest of honor at the event. Now, according to Nwachukwu, the remains of the personnel would be laid to rest at about 3 p.m. at the National Cemetery in Abuja. Meanwhile, some leaders of the Niger Delta have pleaded with President Tinubu to allow the people of Okwama in Ughelli South local government area, Delta State, who fled their homes about 12 days ago following the siege to the community by the Nigerian army over the killing of the soldiers, to return home and pick the pieces of their lives. Elder statesman Edwin Clark has warned against a repeated invasion of his property in Delta State by personnel of the Nigerian military and the Nigerian police, saying these are acts of provocation. Now, Clark, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, admitted that the military has tendered an apology, saying that those responsible should be warned to desist from such actions in the future and exercise decorum and the rule of law in carrying out their responsibilities. He says due notification should be given before any unprovoked barge into his territory or property, as he is willing to cooperate with security agencies irrespective of whether information they intend to investigate.
The army has apologized to me. He's the general in charge of South and some other places. I was satisfied, and I'm still satisfied. But I brought it to the notice that I do not want this to happen again, whereby the mistakes are coming up and down. Police came into my house. They said they missed their way, or I don't know what happened. The baggy people said they were putting ammunition. Delta boys from the Niger Delta were bringing ammunition to my house through the SOR 1 truck, hillocks filled with guns and so on, and they were passing through a taxi. All those were bunkum. What am I saying? Give me peace of mind. I will still contribute to the welfare of Nigeria. That's all what I want. My message is that why this coincidence? Why was some inquiry not made having regard to a man like me? If you found a devilish fellow, a murderer in my house, it's a bad thing. So why do you want to implicate me before you tell my governor? By taking me by surprise. That's my anger, that's my worries. But I'm forgiving all that because what is important now, let us nip this thing on the bud. Otherwise it will escalate. I've told you how they attack my house. It will be another person, there will be problems.
Now joining me on the news from the house of Edwin Clark in Delta State to speak on this latest development is News Central correspondent Austin Azu. Hello, Austin. Thank you so much for joining me. What do you have, or for us? How does the house look like? What does it look like at the moment?
Yes, currently at Kiagbodo, the country home of the elder statesman Edwin Clark. Behind me, you can see the building. So let me take you around just a minute as we continue this conversation. All right, from this moment, you can see how the soldiers walked into this compound, and from afar, you can see the door, the entrance door to the sitting room. And sometime, just not quite long, one of them told me how the military, the soldiers, pushed this door forcefully and gained entrance into this sitting room and went straight into one of the rooms. They equally broke this place. You can see from here, they broke into this place and they entered this place as well. So this is the sitting room of Chief Edwin Clark. You can see for yourself the pictures all over the wall. And quickly, let me just take you back where they made another entrance into the apartment where the military equally entered. But from what we gathered so far, we saw how the military broke into the various rooms in search of what they were looking for. And some of those who we met on ground here told us that the very day they came here about 2 days ago, it was kind of bloody. So none of them were able to gain access. Everywhere was sealed off. And this is not the only place the military actually invaded. All right, this is one of the doors. This is one of the doors that they broke into. So I don't know what they were looking for, but the information we gathered was like they were looking for the suspect, the mastermind suspect of what transpired at the Okoma community. This is another door again that was broken. You can see, according to the eyewitness, told us that they used their foot march to, puncture the door. Likewise, this as well. Wow. So they enter this room. We have other places they went to, but because of time factor, we might not be able to go there at the moment. But however, the continuous search for the mastermind of those who committed the atrocity in Okoma that led to the sack of the village. All right, one of the doors. Let's gain entrance into one of the doors. Okay. All right, this is one of the rooms that they invaded as well.
One laptop.
Okay.
One of the lecturers.
Wait, okay, please come over and talk to me. What did they collect? Please tell us.
They collect one of the Clark University, and they collect the laptop. He came back, he traveled to Warrior as he came. They say the laptop again is using because they remove it. They put it there, they remove it, they find the laptop. This is the laptop today.
Okay, can you tell us what really happened that fateful day?
And that fateful, I don't stand around because I went to work. We might be coming back and I see people gathering. Because before I knew, they're already gone. And they're gone. They said they break the house. People, they're around there and they said, who is the suspect? Who is the suspect? They didn't say this suspect. And I'm very unfortunate and people gathering and they put more security to guide this place because we're formally bringing soldiers to come and guide the school and the compound. But unfortunately, we didn't see the army then again, and the place is just like that. The way the Fufosa came and not say they meet to they say they're blasting the eye suspect or something like that too. They start to destroy sky. You understand the way they come for force. Fear group everybody self.
Okay, now what did they take away from this room?
The lecturer said they took in laptop.
Okay.
He's using.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so Dash, you can hear from this place and the various the guy just said now that laptop was taken away from the compound here. So who knows if other things were actually taken away? They coming here at that point in time. There were no information to the either statesman or to the chief security officer of the state of what they intend to do in this place. And not only in this place that they are making the manhunt for, they're actually going across the various communities that are neighboring communities to Okoma community. We had we equally gathered that they equally went to Orere community and neighboring community as we speak at the moment. And the people in those communities are already in fears. But however, we intend to make a move to that community immediately after this interview.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Austin Azu, for that detailed, report. We will definitely link up with you in our subsequent bulletin for more on this. Thank you. All right, now still on this matter, joining me on the news to discuss this is the Prime Minister of Tuomo Kingdom, Delta Bayelsa State, Mike Loibo. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello? Okay, all right, we'll try to reconnect with Mike Loibo. Now, moving away from that, 3 days after the rescue of children abducted from Kuriga Primary and Junior Secondary School in Kaduna State, parents are yet to reunite with their children. Now, since the announcement of their return, parents of the freed school children have been eager to receive them back home in the village. The children were abducted on March 7, 2024, after bandits invaded their school located in Kuriga village of Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The school children were reportedly rescued on Sunday, March 24th, after 16 days in captivity. The military handed over the 131 rescued children to Kaduna State Governor Senator Ubasani on Monday and said 6 of the students who were hospitalized would be handed over to the state as soon as the doctors certified them fit. Residents of Kaduna State say the rescue of the kidnapped Kuriga school children in Chikun local government area of the state from Zamfara inspires hope and confidence on the government and its ability to rid the state of any form of criminality. Now, this is coming following the receipt of the rescued school children by the governor of Kaduna State, Ubasani, on Monday. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
On Sunday, residents of Kaduna State received the news of the rescue of the 137 kidnapped pupils of the LEA Primary School and the Government Secondary School Kuriga in Chikum local government area by the Nigerian Army. About 131 of those rescued were officially handed over to the governor 24 hours later by the general officer commanding 1 Division Nigerian Army Kaduna on behalf of the Army. Residents say this deserves commendation and inspires confidence and a proof that government is out to rid the state of any form of criminality.
It's a thing of joy that the children are back home safe and sound. Not minding the fact that, yeah, they have stayed in captivity for a very long while, not that long. But it's also a thing of joy to the parents, and it's also a hope and assurance to the society that, yes, the governor is actually trying to see to it that people are safe.
Seriously, I was very happy, and I thanked the Kaduna State government because they played a vital role in order to make sure that those students are released.
I would appreciate the Kaduna State government because they are working tirelessly, morning and night, bringing everything to order, making sure everything is okay in this states.
Many unanswered questions have arisen since the news of the rescue, as residents asking how the children, originally kidnapped from their local community in Kaduna State, were taken to Zamfara State, almost 5 hours from the scene of the kidnap. Although details of the rescue operation still remain sketchy, the military says that both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches were used, while details of how many of the bandits were killed or apprehended has not been let out to the public. Questions have also been asked as to why during the physical handover of the children, their parents were not around to authenticate if the rescued victims were those genuinely kidnapped. Also, while 6 out of the 137 rescued were not brought to the government house, the military says that they are still undergoing medical care. Residents are saying that the kidnap incidents will deter parents from sending their children to school.
Parents will be scared of letting their children go out because of such cases, so that they don't kidnap their children.
As a parent, if I can do it, is to, locate another place for my student. I can't stay in that place again.
What the governor has to do is to try to see that he develops that hope in them more, so that they will be so that they will feel that yes, they are being secured and safe.
Residents here have called on the government to roll up their sleeves and get to work and tackle the issue of insecurity once and for all, so that the Kuriga school attack will not repeat itself again. In Kaduna for News Central, I am Marvelous Obomman.
All right, we still have Marvelous standing by in Kaduna to give us an update on this particular issue. Hello, Marvelous. It's been 3 days, without the parents seeing their released children. Why is it taking so long for that to happen?
Well, it is left for government to explain to us why after 3 days, these parents who were welcomed with the news of the rescue have not been able to see their children. What we know is that the government says these children are undergoing, a form of physiochemical therapy where they have to, the psychologists have to be there to monitor them and give them the needed treatment before they are reunited with their family members. But this is taking time. And just like I said earlier on, during the handover ceremony, the parents were not there even to authenticate if these children were the original children that were abducted from Kuriga LEA Primary School. And now, most of these children are minors, and people are asking if such, therapy ought to be administered to these children. Shouldn't it be, with the permission and the directive of these parents? Like I said earlier on again, there was one of the parents we were speaking with the other time. He said he didn't even know that the children had arrived at the government house, and that they don't even know when the children will be given back to them or not. So it's a lot of issues that we are contending with. The fact that after 3 days, these parents are yet to see their children, and the fact that the children are still undergoing physiotherapy, and again, the fact that details of this rescue operation is still sketchy. The public is not aware how this rescue operation was done, and the military is saying it was kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. Non-kinetic approaches, we don't know how, because recall, the government said they were not going to negotiate with the bandits and they are not going to pay any ransom there. So the non-kinetic approach that was employed, we're yet to find out what type of non-kinetic approach was used. And at the end of the day, when you do a rescue operation, at least you may have apprehended some bandits, or some bandits maybe during the gun duel or something like that may have fallen. And so we don't know really if these bandits were neutralized, how many of them were neutralized, how many of them were apprehended. And again, 6 of these students who are still undergoing medical care that was not brought physically, we don't even know the state of their health as it stands now, because the governor on Monday said he went to the hospital, he saw all of them, but they seized their cases are a bit severe, so they needed to still stay around and get medical care. So for all we know is that after 3 days of this rescue operation, the parents are yet to see their children. But beyond that, let me bring you back to what happened during the Baptist High School kidnap. When the children returned in branches, it took after a while before that school started operation. And even when the school started operation, some of the parents, took their children away from that school out of fear of this thing repeating the second time. So some people are saying this is a direct attack on the education system in Nigeria and in Kaduna State, to be precise, because this school is a community school. And so when this thing happens, parents may want to think twice to send their children back to that school again. And when that happens, you see that we may likely have a situation of a brain drain in that community. So people are now anticipating, what will government do for these children? Will they bring them to town, enroll them into a school?
Of course, so many questions left unanswered, but were you able to, get any information on the 6 remaining students that are, because the other day at the government house, the representative of the Nigerian army did say that, they were held in a hospital in Dale Barracks. Do you know if any journalist was actually allowed into, the premises to see to those particular children and even, have the opportunity to talk to the doctors?
What we are handling is security matters, so everybody needs to be very careful. And as I'm talking to you, we visited that particular military facility, and in fact, the security there is very strong. So they won't allow journalists to enter that particular military facility to check these children. But the onus lies in the hands of the government or the military to say us, okay, you guys, this is the situation of things. These children are, responding to treatment. By so time, they will be released to join the other children to receive medical, this physiotherapy. Or at so time, these children will be released to go and see their parents. We don't have that information.
Also marvelous, just before I let you go, now, aside the one parent that you interviewed, at the government house, have you been able to reach out to other parents, who are yet to see their children and have confirmed that their children are indeed with the Kaduna State governor?
We've tried to put a call across to some of the parents. We took their number. What we are battling with in that particular Kuriga community, they have bad telecommunication networks. So I believe that is why we are unable to reach them. But what we are planning, maybe at some point we'll still have to visit that community to talk with most of the parents, but whom we've been discussing with so far. In fact, as I'm talking to you about an hour ago, we tried to put a call across to that particular parent who have been interfacing with us, and his line is not connecting. So we are digging more, trying to get how we can talk to more of these parents. But what I can confirm to you is that these parents have not seen their children.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much, Marvelous Obomanu, for bringing us that update. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Mrs. Rekiat Momo has been appointed acting CEO of Eco Electricity Distribution Company, Eco Disco. Now, this was contained in a statement signed by the Board of Eco Electricity Distribution PLC dated March 26, 2024. This follows the redeployment of erstwhile MD and CEO, Mrs. Tinuade Sanda, back to WPG Limited, the core investor who seconded her to Eco Disco. Momo has been in the power sector for more than 31 years and rose through the ranks from the days of NEPA, PHCN, and now Eco Disco. A marketing professional by training, she holds an MBA from Lagos State University. To successfully realize the visions and projects for any government, there must be proper budgeting, financing, and implementation. The unavailability of funds to finance any budget will naturally make the budget useless. In this report, News Central's Chinwe Ugele examines the 2024 Abia State budget and the sources of financing it.
In the 2024 Abia State Appropriation Bill of 567.2 billion naira, it was stated that the budget will be funded through federal allocations, internally generated revenue, as well as domestic and foreign borrowings. The state government has already embarked on some capital projects, which, according to Governor Alex Oti, would be funded by about 85% loans. The state's internally generated revenue as of December 2023 was around 23 billion naira. Although traders in the state are still enjoying tax holidays since the present government came on board, the monthly internally generated revenue is now put at 2 billion naira.
Now that we have given our people that reprieve, that initial reprieve, to enable them recover from the pains of years of suffering and exploitation and intimidation, we have gradually started the process of collecting taxes. But in the next few months, we begin to define our position to become clearer.
The magnitude of projects embarked upon by the state government, suggesting Wosu, a chartered accountant, says borrowing is inevitable.
You need to now, when you look at your data, and you find that those other sources of income are not able to carry out those projects and the things you have. The resources are not there to be able to do it. So what you do is you go take the other option of borrowing. And borrowing sometimes is good, but sometimes it is misplaced. For instance, if you borrow for recurrent expenditure, it's a waste. But if you borrow for capital projects, then it's like setting up something that is enduring.
He's a financial person, so he understands the application and utilization of loans. So we're not careless about it, and whatever we are taking, we're going to ensure that it is properly utilized for the development of the state.
He also said government needs to state repayment plans in the budget to create a clear understanding for successive governments.
So something must be done. The payment must be made. The proper provision will have to be made in the budget to service those debts.
The masses would not complain about loans if at the end of the day, the government is able to account for the money borrowed by tying them to people-oriented projects. In Omaha News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Nigerians have continued to react to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's call to the citizens to buy goods made in the country. Now, while the presidency seeks to strengthen the local currency and boost the Nigerian economy with this directive, News Central's Perpetua Fasomi Peter spoke to Nigerians to know what their preferences are and the factors responsible for their choices.
In a bid to sustain the gains recorded in the foreign exchange market, the presidency has urged Nigerians to buy made-in-Nigeria products. I'm here on the streets to find out what Nigerians think about this.
The majority of the product they produce in Nigeria, most of them are fake, but I prefer imported goods than the Nigerian ones.
I prefer imported goods because what they do is very neat than Nigerian production.
Nigerian here, like we used to compromise. We compromise with our products. Let the standard organization take care of the issue on ground.
Quality, price, and distrust are some of the factors highlighted here. But what do players in the manufacturing industry have to say about this?
By the time we continue to import, we will continue to have inflation because there will be more stress on the naira. Yes, there will be challenges here and there, but to me, those are pockets of challenges. If you look at some of the products coming out from Nigeria, you'll be marveled. You wonder if this is actually from Nigeria.
What more can the government do? Not just to encourage Nigerians to buy made-in-Nigeria goods, but to also address the nation's major foreign exchange challenge, foreign currency illiquidity.
One way government can do that is to increase the ease of doing business. Government must be intentional about making funds accessible and affordable to business owners. As manufacturers or producers in Nigeria, we must also learn to begin to do backward integration. So government must be able to address the issue of power, make power accessible to almost everybody, and make it affordable also.
The gains recorded in the foreign exchange market in the past few days is nothing short of commendable. However, to sustain this, the fiscal authority must also rise to the occasion and do what it must to encourage local production and reduce pressure on the nation's currency, Naira. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasami Peter.
Thank you, Perpetua, for that. Now, about 5 million people are currently in dire need of clean and potable water in Nigeria's northeast. Northeast Nigeria Wash Sector Coordinator Francois Bell made this known when stakeholders in the water, sanitation and hygiene sector in northeast Nigeria gathered to join forces to tackle the prevailing water crisis in the region. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Access to clean and potable water remains a major issue of concern in most communities in northeast Nigeria. As the water crisis in the northeast continues to persist, the government and humanitarian actors in the wash sector gather to discuss strategies for a better way forward.
In northeast Nigeria, 5 million people are still in need of water, sanitation, and hygiene. So many, as you know, IDPs, but also returnees and host communities. Water, no get enemy, water beyond the borders.
We see this a lot when I see long queues of people in IDP camp setting where there's not enough water and people have to queue up and conflict breaks out. This is not something that we want to see, and UNICEF want to work very closely and will continue to work very closely with the governments, with the communities, with other stakeholders to make sure that we have adequate, safe, clean water for every girl, every boy, every man and every woman.
The government of Nigeria is said to be implementing a multifaceted approach to provide sustainable access to potable water in the northeast region. The authorities say they have recognized the urgency of the situation and are working closely with various stakeholders to ensure effective and coordinated efforts.
We, Borno State House of Assembly, have legislated and the budget that has been passed, which we appropriated some good amounts of funds to achieve good water supply to the people of Borno State, which is very significant and also key in transformation agenda of our Executive Governor of Borno State, Professor Engineer Babagana Omar Azolom.
There need to be an awareness for the public, and government should stand up to put regulatory bodies in place to take that responsibility.
Stakeholders, including government agencies like Borno State Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency, non-profit organizations, and international partners have committed to enhancing water management practices, delivering efficient sanitation services, and promoting hygiene education in the region. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The disregard for freedom of the press is said to be a disregard for human rights, dissenting voices, and an absolute disregard for the civic space. The Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, organized a public discourse to promote respect for media freedom and the right to freedom of expression in Nigeria. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more in this report.
In 2021, the Nigerian government clamped down on free social networking site, Twitter, now known as X, an act many referred to as a threat to freedom of expression and a violation of human rights. It is on this premise that the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, organized an interactive session with different stakeholders such as media practitioners, lawyers, civil society organizations, and government institutions to discuss the increasing level of media repression and freedom of expression in Nigeria.
Conversation is important to drive conversations around freedom of expression, where we are, and most importantly, where we should be, and then a commitment from people, individuals, both on the citizen side of the divide and for public institutions to do better going forward.
While civil society organizations and relevant stakeholders believe that the shrinking civic space, particularly the harassment of journalists, was making it harder for citizens to put checks and balances on the government. Lawmakers say government institutions are doing all they can to protect laws and policies protecting journalists.
A whole lot that civil society can do and media, especially in helping to amplify all it is that we're doing within the House. There's also a whole lot that they can also benefit from engaging with us, particularly to get insights, of some of the challenges that we see from the inside and how we can work together to be able to make those amendments.
Experts believe despite legislative restrictions, government control over Nigeria's media has persisted over the years, and the government must do all it can to change the narrative.
As a matter of fact, Section 22 of the Constitution puts that duty on the media to get information for the people. So the right to have access to the information is being jeopardized by gagging the press and, of course, by restricting the civic space.
We should try and ensure that we don't restrict the civic space, because it is a place where you have an amalgamation of ideas, and we should sieve it and take the best that can help our leaders to be more accountable and to make our leaders to be a hearing leadership.
While Nigeria may compare well against other African countries in the area of media repression and freedom of expression, more still needs to be done to ensure the media is free from all forms of right violations. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
The news continues in West Africa, where son of former Guinea-Bissau President Malam Bakai Sangha has been sentenced to over 6 years in prison by a U.S. court for leading an international heroin trafficking ring. Authorities say 52-year-old Malam Bakai Sangha Jr. planned to use the proceeds to fund his ambitions to become Guinea-Bissau's president through a coup, and was linked to the February 2022 failed coup attempt in the country. In September last year, he pleaded guilty to conspiring to illegally import drugs. He was extradited to the U.S. in August 2022 following his arrest in Tanzania a few weeks earlier. U.S. authorities say Sangha Jr. could be deported following his imprisonment, as he is not an American citizen. Mali's ruling junta has banned the activities of a rare new opposition coalition in Bamako, citing threats of disturbance to public order. The country has been under military rule since back-to-back coups in 2020 and 2021, with the security situation compounded by a humanitarian and political crisis. The coalition, named Action Synergy for Mali, was set up in February and is made up of 30 opposition parties, including supporters of an influential imam, Mahmoud Dicko. Now, the group is highly critical of the junta and proposed a new way for Malians who have seen the country ravaged by different groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group since 2012. The observation mission deployed to Senegal by the European Union and West Africa's regional bloc has praised the smooth running of the presidential election won by an anti-establishment opponent after 3 years of unrest. Around 7.3 million Senegalese were eligible to take part in Sunday's vote, which saw 44-year-old Bassirou Diomaye Faye elected as the youngest president in the country's history. Official provisional results are due to be published this week, but Faye's opponents in the race, Amadou Ba and outgoing President Macky Sall, have already acknowledged his victory. The head of the EU mission, Malin Bjork, described it as a well-organized and open election that demonstrated the strength of Senegal's democratic institutions.
Even while welcoming the remarkably peaceful and inclusive outcomes of the electoral process, the ECOWAS Election Observer Mission wishes to note certain processes and practices that will require reviews to further strengthen the electoral framework. The ECOWAS Election Observation Mission welcomes the gracious gestures of the government's official candidate Amadou Ba, and the outgoing president, His Excellency Macky Sall, who both congratulated the president-elect, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, even before the official declaration of presidential preliminary results. This contributed to further turning tensions and enhancing national reconciliation.
In the same vein, China has congratulated Bassirou Diomaye Faye on his victory in Senegal's presidential election, describing the two nations as good friends and brothers. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said China is pleased with the election that was held peacefully and orderly. He said Beijing is willing to work with the new government of Senegal to deepen political mutual trust, expand practical cooperation, and promote the continuous development of bilateral relations.
很高兴见到塞内加尔大选和平有序举行，对巴西鲁迪奥马耶法耶获胜表示祝贺。中塞是好朋友、好兄弟，中方高度重视中塞关系发展，愿同塞方新一届政府共同努力，深化政治互信，拓展务实合作。
In other news from around the world, Colombia's military has launched an offensive in the southwest following a partial truce suspension with the Central General Staff, a rebel group. The commander of military forces, Helder Giraldo, said the operation resulted in arrests, deaths, and recovery of minors forcibly recruited by criminal organizations.
Que hay una acción persistente de parte de las fuerzas militares contra el Estado Mayor Central, no solo en la confrontación directa en los tres departamentos, sino también cuando necesidad de intervención del ejército se produce una confrontación, el ejército ha sostenido igualmente esos enfrentamientos con el Estado Mayor Central. Las acciones que tienen que desarrollarse contra la minería ilegal, contra el narcotráfico, que se siguen incrementando y que consideramos en la medida en que sean más contundentes, han tenido resultados importantes, pero en la medida en que sean más contundentes, debilitan.
And now in business, the death crisis in Africa is rising at a worrisome and exponential pace, with the constant rise in the value of foreign currency against the local currencies and an increasing level of the interest rate. With numerous interconnected economic crises, Economists on the continent are now calling for a major structural adjustment at a recent conference by the International Development Economics Associates in Accra, Ghana. The conference, which will run for 4 days, seeks to address African debt crisis and reform of the international financial architecture. And now let's take a look at sports, where the Nigerian Women Football League Premiership heads into match day 11 this midweek, and Rivers Angels will be in a crucial encounter with Delta Queens inside the main bowl of the Adokie Amesiamaka Stadium. The Jewel of Rivers suffered huge defeat against Edo Queens in Benin last week and are hoping to return to winning ways on Wednesday. Head coach of Rivers Angels, White Ogbonda, says the encounter will be an interesting one and that his girls are in high spirits to give their best. Ogbonda also assured that he has been able to recover in time to correct the lapses from the last match against Edo Queens.
We are fully ready. We've been practicing after the last game in Benin, so we've corrected ourselves in the mistakes we've done in the past match. So the coach have corrected the mistakes, so we are ready for the game. So it was a tough one for us. We were not happy with the result, but I believe we'll do better in tomorrow's match. We've corrected the mistake. Nobody's perfect, but we've tried to correct the mistakes.
South Africa Under-20 rugby team, Junior Springboks, will open the Under-20 Rugby Championship campaign against New Zealand on Thursday, May 2nd at the Sunshine Coast Stadium. This groundbreaking event will showcase Argentina, Australia, New Zealand and South Africa's rising talents in a historic showdown among the 4 Southern Hemisphere nations. Set in the Sunshine Coast region of Queensland, Australia, this tournament in May will feature a round-robin format where every team will face off once. The team that emerges victorious after the 3-round, 6-match competition will claim the title of the first ever Rugby Championship Under-20 champion. Victoria Azarenka pushed forward in her quest for a 4th Maye Sakari with a score of 7-5, 6-7, 4-7, 6-4. Rybakina, who reached last year's final but was defeated by Petro Vitova of the Czech Republic, continues her strong performance in this year's competition.
That is delightful. Brilliant from her, but for Azarenka.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria's President Tinubu to attend burial of slain soldiers in Abuja. We also told you that elder statesman Edwin Clark describes military's invasion of premises as act of provocation. And finally, you heard that son of Guinea-Bissau ex-president jailed in U.S. for drug trafficking. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Dashen. Usman.